officially
We're live.
So we're live now. So now, this is the committee of conference, and we're at the final hour. We just had a couple of outstanding issues and language. One was the PCB language that we took a look at it. I see Michael Brady's here, and I know that you've talked with him, we've talked with him, and we have a final version. We want to present it.
It is. Andrea's got it up on the Senate
You
committee
probably have it already too.
page. I will note that I think the version you have has 2 spelling typos in it because my computer has defaulted to Arabic. Spell check. I don't know why,
That's hilarious.
but wasn't fixed until about an hour ago.
Sure, that's interesting.
So
What's happened there?
the first section is amending the requirement that schools test under A&R's authority in the $4.5 million that was previously appropriated. It is bumping it out to 2027.
And I guess we're coming to that. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion on the Senate side as well.
Yeah.
But the testimony from A&R is just the feasibility of testing within that time frame. And so we might as well be realistic about what can be done. And so we have proposed 28. This is now coming up into 2027. So
I think the people on the ground and we do not want to stop or slow down the pace, but to allow them the space
but to
of time
recognize that.
that they need to get this done.
So I think that everybody's in agreement that that's change we will include.
Thank you.
So moving on, the next section is very similar to language that was passed both in H486 and in the Senate passed version of H494. The first subsection is just unreserving the approximately 32.5 million that have been reserved in the education fund for PCB investigation and response. That has not changed from either of your versions. On page 2, subsection B, this is appropriating the 29.5 that had been reserved and any of the returned funds from the board that then it's appropriated to the Agency of Education in fiscal year 2024 for the following purposes. The grant language is most similar to the Senate passed version of H494. It is for the following purposes: grants to schools in the state that are required to conduct investigation, remediation, or removal of PCB contamination in the school after A&R testing, but have not received a grant from AOE for the cost of investigation, remediation, or removal. The grants are in the amount to pay for 100% of the school's cost required by A&R's investigation and remediation of contaminated properties rule. That was a cost containment provision that was added at A&R's recommendation. That is what they are implementing right now to contain costs. It basically requires anyone who's cleaning up a contaminated property under A&R's authority to use the most cost-effective measures. So that is what they prefer as their cost containment language. That would include the cost when necessary under state or federal law to relocate students to a facility during remediation or removal. Similarly, in the subdivision 2, this is where it's unclear whether or not this is a contingency that is actually happened, but it could, because under A&R's previous program, they were only funding 80% of the cost of remediation or removal. So this would give to the school that has conducted investigation, remediation, or removal that which was not reimbursed by A&R. So that is similar to what was passed in the Senate passed version and similar to the H486. And then last, there's a grant to Burlington School District to reimburse the school district for the actual cost of demolition and removal at the high school, not to exceed 16 million.
And if it's more than that, you're not getting the 100.
Not under this language.
Okay.
If you wanted to, in the future, appropriate future dollars, that's up to you, but this is not contemplated here.
No, and that was consistent between both.
So
The
in,
reimbursement is,
in previous drafts, both in the House and the Senate, there was a subsection C that established grant criteria. One, in the House, the grant criteria was basically a cost containment provision. You don't need that cost containment provision anymore because you have the A&R rule as your cost containment. And one of the House's versions was grant criteria about being a public school and independent schools would not be. That's been struck. What is being funded are the schools that were required to test and then respond to that. And you required in 2021 that public schools and you can see it on the first page, the approved and recognized independent schools do testing. Those are the entities that would be qualifying for a grant if they have the costs that are incurred. So you don't have that grant criteria. But you do give, or you do require a school district that recovers money from litigation or other award for the work covered under the grant to reimburse the state in the amount of the grant or the recovery, whichever is less. Any reimbursed monies are deposited in the ed fund and reserved for use for school construction as approved for the General Assembly in the future. And then last, the A&R wanted some specific authority that would give them the ability to pursue manufacturers of PCBs for the monies expended or awarded in the state for the school costs that they are paying out.
Just a quick question on that, if I may. So if they recover more than the cost that they're paying out, would that also go into the ed fund as above?
So generally when A&R or the state is pursuing litigation for recovery, it goes into a fund, the Attorney General's fund. And so you then direct how that money is used.
Thank you. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in this frame, but it's, yeah, okay.
you do it.
I know, I guess, I just wasn't sure which direction.
Other questions, then? Otherwise, I think people have had a chance to look at this. We appreciate your coming back and the
Yeah.
modifications.
I do too. I'm getting it clear.
So why don't we agree to close this out? And then the only other area that we were working on, but we're at this point, and that was language on Medicare Advantage. After consultation with Randy and Leonard, we feel that that the concerns are really very, very unlikely to ever materialize. He's going to kind of give us a summary of how he's arrived at that. So I think at this point, we would simply go with the language that we had already closed out.
Closed up, okay.
Okay, and so I think,
Can I just ask a question? Because I just want to make sure that I'm clear that I recognize that the retired state employees were looking for something different. I recognize that had all sorts of other complications. So I just want to make sure that we all feel, and it have been confirmed by the people that have all been talking about this, that the retired state employees are protected with the current language.
and Damien will give us his summary of how we can assure them of this. And there seems to be, obviously, we heard from the lobbyists for the association who felt the language that the board had supported the language.
The original,
Yeah.
right, and they
And,
changed it.
And BSA was not, they wanted something permanent and they were happy with the language. And so in light of Damien's examination to give us, at this point, we feel that, any risk to the retirees, of which I'm one.
Me too.
Yeah, that's right, you are too.
Full disclosure.
Is right, de minimis, right?
Yeah.
It's minimal, and so, at this point, and we couldn't get confirmation from the treasurer, to change anything, so we had agreement from the treasurer, we have it from VSEA, we had it from the administration. And in light of the fact that the concerns that were expressed seem to be really very remote, that, there would be a problem. I think we should, at this point in the process, go with, what we closed out
And what everybody was the most comfortable with and what they know.
and so we were not able to, at this point, go forward. And I think that closes out any of the remaining, issues that we had that might be. So, we actually have,
A piece of paper.
So I will start it and then I'll give it to Chair Lanford to sign.
Sorry.
Wait, one more thing.
No.
Sign quickly.
My do not disturb is set to, it expires at 6, so, so then it starts peaking up, sorry. Oh, I'm like, you're getting up and you've got your phone and I'm thinking like something is happening here. I thought she was having
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like, oh, this is the best angle, because I want to get, I'll definitely bear it.
Yeah, right.
It's a terrible phone, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stand up, I'm gonna go, okay.
On the chair.
Oh my God.
Oh, we need the picture of. Is there a workers' comp bill?
Is that motion approved?
Okay.
Now a childcare bill.
Thank you.
Very good. Get that on Zoom.
Here's your time. Make sure I'm signing in the right spot.
Yeah,
Lots of
that's
them,
fine.
right?
Couldn't have done that in my heels.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Sure, anytime you want to stand up and chat.
There you are. You need your pen? Okay.
Used to be.
That's what's happening.
What's my last name? It's been a long
I had to move my, over and I haven't got my glasses.
There, you're fine.
All right.
Good job. Good job. Did you go home and asparagus?
Yeah.
You have more.